Hi, I'm James from Party Time Brewing. Today we're going to make a beer with wet hops. Okay, the hops aren't so wet anymore. They've been sitting around for 0, 1, and 2 years. I've horribly stored them. These hops look horrible. But wasting is stupid. So, look at that. We got Cascade, Centennial.
Get to the brewing.
Yeah.
Party time brews. This song ain't no good, but we got nothing to lose.
So I dumped the grain to weigh it. Complex recipe of 5 kilograms of Viking pale malt. Then I dumped it into the grain mill. Then it clogged, so I dumped it back into the bucket. Then back into the grain mill. Then into the grain father, and stirred it. Mashed for 60 minutes, sparged, and then gave it a warning for the things to come.
We're about to ruin my beer. Once the boil starts, we will throw in all the old crappy hops and see what happens. We're gonna say 116 grams of bittering.
Okay, so as you can hear, the hops weren't really that wet. The way to go when using a lot of wet hops is to use a brew bag. It will be a ridiculous sludge if you do not. Dump them in, stir it up, and wait until whatever next random addition time you've selected to pour some more in.
Okay, we're up to the 30 minutes, and let's just add a bunch more. Another 112 grams should be perfect.
And as you notice, it does take a while to saturate the hops and to get them mixed in the solution. Next thing I did was measure out a final 85 grams for the 10-minute addition. Then I dumped it. Then I stirred. But more importantly, I had to get the supervisors to check it out.
What's this shit, Dada?
Okay, so we're down to the wire. We got the boil complete. It's time to throw in some Whirlpool hops, and for this special occasion, I'm gonna use all the hops I harvested this year. Let's take a look at the harvest. So as you can see here, you look kind of right behind me, the wall of vine didn't really grow too well. But we do have the couple at the edge that grew all right. So right now, I guess I just gotta pull down the lines.
But before we do that, here's a look at some Centennial. It grew half decent, not amazing, but half decent. And here's the pièce de résistance, my Chinook. Yeah, that didn't work. But then we go up the ladder, untie it somewhat, they fall to the ground, then back down the ladder, bonus points for not falling. And with the huge amount of binds I got, I needed to enlist help of my friends. Usually when you have a giant hop harvest like this, you'll need multiple helpers. I managed with one. And moment of truth for Centennial. Oh yeah. 1 ounce. And the Cascade clocked in at 6.4 grams.
Okay, so you saw the harvest? Let's weigh it up, see what he's at now. 30 grams, we're looking at right around an ounce. Wow. And as those are just thrown in there, something I didn't take into account really was the fact that I'm using about, 320 grams of wet hops, although I had dried them, so they're kind of, well, I guess they're wet again. But they absorb a lot of moisture. There is a huge sludge of the wet hops in there. If I hadn't used the bag, that would be a mess, but it'd be interesting to know how much they weigh. I'm gonna weigh them to see what they're gonna be looking like, because I may have to water it down a bit after if I wanna get the volume, or I just suck it up and take a batch. That'll probably only be about 16 or 17 liters at the end. Maybe lose a gallon of it. I don't know, we'll find out.
So I squeezed the bag to get all that potentially hoppy goodness into the wort. Then I weighed it. Just around 2.5 kilos, and since we used a little over 300 grams of wet hops, then that is somewhere in the range between 7 and 8 grams of water absorbed per gram of hops. And from there it was just a matter of pitching the yeast and closing up the top. Then opening it again because I forgot to top it up and I wanted to make sure I had a good amount of beer. I ended up topping it to about 20 liters and then closed it up to ferment for 3 weeks. It started at a 10.48 and ended at a 10.09 for a 5.1% alcohol.
Okay, the time has come to see if poorly storing my hops for 2 or 3 years has paid off. Here's my attempt at a wet hopped beer, and let's get at it. Not getting too much off the smell. It's fairly plain. It's almost as if there's a whiff of something that went wrong in there. For appearance-wise, looks fairly bright, not too horrible. You can see there, you got a not too bad head kind of coming off the side, so looks like a beer anyway. Doesn't smell the best, but might as well jump in there and see what you taste like. Yeah, get bitterness right off the bat. Not too much of a malty flavor or anything in there. It's really just pure bitterness. Makes me think I should have probably used the hops a little bit less in the bittering and then kind of forced it out towards the Whirlpool area, but you never know there. Lots of grassy notes in there, probably because basically dry grass by now. All the nice oils have probably faded away over the 2 years that I had it. Yeah, and for mouthfeel, feels pretty dry. Not too much sugary sweetness or anything coming off there. So yeah, fairly light. And it is fairly crisp, pretty good carbonation in there. I usually carbonate my stuff up, put it at 12 psi and kind of let it go, or run it through the Blickman Quick Carb. I'm gonna leave it at 12 psi, so it's pretty good carbonation. Check a chart if you want to see what that is, or it's right here. Anyway, one last little go, and just to stay with some sort of reasonable plainness. Overall impression, it's moderately drinkable. I'm not going to throw it out, I'll keep it on tap. I'll probably be one of the only people drinking it other than when I'm making people sample it. One of my friends down the road who normally drinks anything actually was about to pour his out until I kind of made him feel bad and he drank the rest of it. But either way, not the best beer, not the worst beer. In the future for my hops, if you got old hops, I'd probably recommend them just using them as some bittering, and then use maybe a fresher hop or something with a little more flavor for the Whirlpool or Aroma additions, just to make it, I don't know, give it a little more flavor. It's a bitter beer, it's a one-off, can't repeat it, wouldn't repeat it. And yeah, that's about it for that one. And if you're interested in growing your own hops, you can check out this video here. But for now, thanks for watching.